Welcome to this Sunday, October 11th edition of the the Island Stats Football Show. Joining me is Maceo Deal, Danica Gibbons, Garrett Punchy Deal, and we are awaiting the arrival of Coach Keita. But we've had Premier Division matches as well as the FA Challenge Cup preliminary round matches take place today. Let's just run down the scores from today. In the preliminary matches of the FA Challenge Cup, we saw Boulevard Blazers go down 4-3 to Vasco. We saw Hamilton Parish defeat Ireland Rangers 4-1. Footy Kings from the Corona League up by First Division outfit St. David's, and Young Man Social Club defeated Wolves 4-2. In the Premier Division, in a match that's going on right now, the second half is just underway. Robin Hood are leading Somerset Trojans 2-0. Devonshire Cougars defeated Somerset Eagles 5-1. It was Southampton Rangers going down 1-0 to St. George's Colts, and North Village Rams defeated the Devonshire Colts 2-1 out at Bernard Park. Well, we'll get to our picks and all, but looking at some of the results, let's talk a little bit about, first of all, the Premier Division, and then we'll get back to the FA Challenge Cup preliminary round. So obviously, Punchy, we look at for the second week in a row, Somerset Eagles have taken an early lead in a match and then given up 4 and now 5 goals. That needs to be worked on right away. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I haven't seen them play this year.
Right.
I think Gary Dell, as I've been told, Gary Dell is helping out there.
Yes, he is.
But they're leaking goals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always a problem when you first, that's a problem, especially in the beginning of the season. So I think that's something that they're going to have to really work on. Defensively, how are they giving up these goals? I'm kind of almost, I shouldn't say, about, are they going to stay up promoted? Will they remain up the top league? But I think, it's still early, and we'll see how it goes. But again, they're just leaking too many goals, for sure.
Right. Definitely, Danica, you look at the Southampton Rangers, St. George's game, two teams that are stingy in both ends, scoring goals and giving up goals. St. George's end up scoring a goal that then end up shutting out Southampton Rangers on the road to pick up their first 3 points of the season. But obviously, they're going to have to look at trying to maintain that in certain ways. Would you agree?
Yes, I would say so. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. Your view of the game. Obviously, St. George's are creating chances, Rangers are creating chances, but what did you think of the overall game itself?
I thought St. George's played exceptionally well, considering, it takes them a while to get given. And as I've been saying, week in and week out, they get the chances, they don't put them away. And today they finally got their chance, and they put it away. They fought hard.
Shortest man on
the shortest man on the field.
On the field scores a header.
Yeah. I thought that they probably should have, probably won more than that.
Right.
But also won the game.
Yeah. Maceo, you had a chance to see the Somerset Eagles and Devonshire Cougars match, a bit of that. What did you think of, first of all, I'm going to go back to that, what I asked Punchy, but what did you think of Somerset Eagles, what you saw in the short space of time that you actually saw them play?
Well, yeah, I got a chance to study him and watching the coaching staff, watching the interaction with the players. Somerset Eagles are actually playing off the cuff. Whereas you can see the other teams in the league, they have a clear way method of playing. Somerset Eagles is playing off the cuff. So they was basically reacting to any mistake that Devonshire Cougars were making. And that's how they actually scored the goal. They penalized Devonshire Cougars for a bad mistake. But there's no clear direction in what style they're playing. So you can see that you could see clear direction out of all the other teams, how they're approaching the game, but not with Somerset Eagles. They're pretty much playing off the cuff right now.
Looking at Devonshire Cougars, obviously they were kind of knocking the ball around early. They went down to that early goal, but then they kind of settled down and got a little more direct with Druande playing up front, him and Lejeune mixing it up very well, and that's how they got their second and the third goal. But give us an evaluation quickly on Devonshire Cougars' performance.
Yeah, definitely. They are a mature outfit. I had the opportunity to speak with their coach afterwards, and what he's been able to figure out is how to put ball handlers in a team. So he's got 10 ball handlers, 10 players that are capable of handling the ball. They play through the lines really well. Even without a recognized striker that's aggressive, they're able to get the ball in the last third, and they have maturity. So they didn't think of eye at being down 1-0. So they have a rhythm that's going on that is gonna put them in a good position to challenge for league title. My only concern would be their ability physical wise. You know, a physical team like a Robin Hood maybe might be able to, but definitely they're impressed with them.
Punchy, you look at North Village were able to get away with a 2-1 victory over Devonshire Colts. Looking at how those two teams kind of match up, because you were kind of looking at the fact that Devonshire Colts have been improving week in and week out, but looking at how North Village was able to overcome that and come from behind too to pick up a 2-1 win. Give us a sense of how you think North Village was able to get over this particular one.
I still believe that Kenny's doing the right things. He's not blessed with a whole lot of talent. We got a real good center forward in Mr. Smith, the one that's been scoring our goals. Very smart, but I just think that Kenny is just really put a very, I wouldn't call him an ordinary team. The organization, the position the player should be in. You just see that he's kind of doing the right things with what he has. He's done very good with what he has. I guess he's, with Threshing that he took from Southampton Rangers, they become almost like a very good defensive team. I got to recommend Briars, and he's doing the captain of the team. But I saw it today. Good organization defensively. And I'm still impressed with Devonshire Colts, trust me. The lack of maturity in the top 18 now. The finishing is really still suspect. But I think Ray Jones is doing a good job. It's a building process. Now, Danique, I'm sorry, I saw you. I haven't really met you like that. But I went I went to the game. To add to this, changing the subject, when I was St. George's, and St. George's could have been up 3-0 in the first 25 minutes.
Wow.
They're very effective if they understand, just like Kenny did against Southampton. What he done, pack the middle, make Southampton play a wide, and make them think, okay, now you're going to try to play narrow, but you're going to go wide. I thought St. George's done a fantastic job. I'm telling you, they 3-0. I checked my watch. After 25 minutes, St. George's should have been up 3-0. That's how much they were very effective on the counter-attack. But again, I applaud them. And I was really impressed with what they're doing in St. George's. And I tell you, friends, David Signor and Freddie Hall are my friends. We talk a lot. I just very impressed with what they're doing, what they're trying to achieve with what they have. I still think they need an out-and-out striker.
Yeah.
But defensively, they did the job well against Rangers today. Now, on my part about Rangers, I'm not going to make it wrong. Joe Moss got to come up with another idea. He's got a real good A plan. For too long, I watched them play 10, maybe 6, 7, 8 passes in front of St. George's. There was no penetration. I found, again, effective players like Mr. Maynard. I'm not picking on him again. What is his effective? I thought Trey Mean sits too deep. He needs to come up a little farther. I think he needs to be a little more progressive. Again, if on a real scale of, all right, St. George's, sit back. Let them play 10 passes in front of you and see what they have. Let them go on the outside, because you're not going to score those type of goals against Freddie Hall. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Right.
But, so I really applaud St. George's for what they are attempting to achieve. And remember, they only lose somebody one goal. So today was a reward for them. Well done, them.
Yeah. Looking at the match last night, obviously, Dandy Town got away with a 1-0 victory over Crossroads. Dandytown starting off with a very young team, still able to put a lot together. Maceo, what did you think of the Dandytown performance?
I'm totally impressed. I'm totally impressed with that. Another team that's been able to put 10 ball handlers on the field. So they were solving problems. So they played against a very physical team in Crossroads. And they was able to nullify Crossroads' physical threat with the ability to outplay them with the ball. You know, the young Lowe and the young Richardson sitting in the midfield and find very creative solutions. So you could see it's football taking place. It's proper footballers there. So and those are proper Dandytown players that are in that. They're very, very creative. And with Kwame, he's just the one to be able to manage that group. You can see how he's managing that group in a professional manner. So I was very impressed with Dandytown, and that just adds to and reinforces my position that Dandytown's going to win the league this year. My good friend GM Baxter, I have many conversations with my good friend GM Baxter, and he tells me I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to football in Dandytown at this time. But I think he's just downplaying what he actually sees himself as well.
Mm-hmm. If you look at it, Crossroads have now played 3 games. They haven't gotten a point. They had the Premier Division leading goal scorer last year, Donovan Thompson, who is yet to find the back of the neck because they haven't scored a goal in 270 minutes of league play. What will be your concern for them?
Yeah, they're definitely at this point in time, and let's start off with this. They're actually not a bad team. They're
Right.
not a bad team physically, but they don't have a culture of winning. And you could see that come out of the room last night. They're definitely my candidate to take the drop. And even with their top goal scorer, I see that they're being very overly reliant on him because the game was a tactical game. He struggled. I can see he's the type of poacher type of goal where really he needs to get balls in the box, and be aggressive and get on the end of it that way. But because I know the coach in
Cameron Fox.
Cameron Fox, he loves to play football. He loves to play expensive style of football, and that doesn't suit that goal scorer. That goal scorer is more of an aggressive, get on the end of being put the ball at the top and let him put pressure. So he looked out of place last night, unfortunately. He looked out of place. And if he's not scoring, it's going to be a problem for Crossroads for sure.
Yeah. Punchy, when Ian Coke transferred to Crossroads at the beginning of the season, a lot of people had high hopes that him and Donovan Thompson would be able to connect kind of thing. You've played in a team that had that connection from young right through to the senior team. How difficult is it when somebody new comes in for those two to get that proper gel and it kind of work right away?
I was kind of I'm going to make sure about this up. I thought Crossroads at times were especially in the second half. There were a lot of times they were really on the ball against Dandytown. There were quite a few chances, but there's still, this coach is just got the coach got to figure out how, again, reiterating what Maceo said, how he's going to get the ball to Donovan Thompson, who scores his goals. Are they too slow? Do they take too long to get the ball forward? I think at times they exposed Dandytown a few times last night, but there's still, you got to figure out how that connection between Ian Coke and Donovan Thompson is going to work. Because I still think Ian Coke is a very fine player. I think he's got his, but it will take time. Again, my approach to what I saw last night, let's get to Dandytown, I thought they were okay too, but I was surprised of how Crossroads came back into the second half. Oh, they created a few chances, yeah. And they were they look like they knew exactly what they wanted to do and create against Dandytown. And today I spent time with Kwame and, about his team and Maceo. I just think that it's a very young team. going to adapt to what Kwame is trying to achieve. And I think like with Macy, I think that they are probably candidates for the premier title. That's my personal opinion, of course.
Well, just to let everyone know, I have invited Kwame to the show this afternoon, and hopefully he is able to join us so we can get some insight from him about the plan going forward for his team. They've started off rather well, and obviously as the coach, a coach always is happy with the way things are, but they know that they still have a lot of work to do. So hopefully he does join us and gives us some insight as to what he feels as the coach of Dendy Town he needs to tweak to make them that much more stronger and continue their run of heading towards a league title. I know we're only 3 games into that, but they look like an outfit that can actually do and challenge for that. There's other teams that are also in the same position. First of all, welcome, Coach Keita.
Good night. Good night. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties.
No problem at all. Welcome. You want me to run down the scores today? Because I know you some of these will be kind of surprising, and some won't be as.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna run down the scores again. It was the FA Challenge Cup preliminary round, and in that, Boulevard Blazers went down 4-3 to Vasco. Hamilton Parish defeated Island Rangers 4-1. Footy Kings got by St. David's 5-2, and Young Manchester Club defeated Wolves 4-2. In the Premier Division, currently going on in the second half, Robin Hood are leading Somerset Trojans 2-0. Devonshire Cougars came from behind to defeat Somerset Eagles 5-1. Southampton Rangers went down 1-0 to St. George's Colts, and North Village Rams defeated Devonshire Colts 2-1. Hearing those scores, Keita, does any of them stand out as a surprise for you?
Quite a few, actually. Footy Kings, but then I learned this evening some of the players for the Footy Kings, some of those guys probably still could play in the Premier League. Also, St. George's, good job, St. George's. I believe I had picked Rangers to win that one. Always knew Danny Town will handle Korsrud, but the Footy Kings win was one that actually surprised me, and congratulations to them. Vince is doing a lot of off the field work, so it's paying off.
Yeah. Danica, when you hear Footy Kings defeating St. David's 5-2, but what's missing is the lineup in which Footy Kings have. They still have, like Coach Keita said, they have some guys who are using this as preseason to go and join the Premier Division clubs later on in the season. They'll start off in the Corona League as they do every year. But when you hear 5-2, does that kind of stun you a little bit?
Well, no, actually, because I knew that, like you said, a lot of the people that should be still playing, up in the Premier Division that play for Footy Kings, play for them. So I figured, it will probably be that type of score.
Right. But Maceo, when you hear a team in the first division playing a team like Footy Kings, as a coach, how do you attack that? Only because if you have the youngsters, they might not be as most experienced, but they're playing a little faster than what these guys would be used to. So what would be your strategy in trying to take on the experienced guys in a one-off game? Because the FA Cup is just that. It's a one-off game.
Well, I understand the weakness of the older, mature players, which is physical and fitness. So I'll understand that weakness. So my strategy with the younger players would be not to show them any respect and outrun them, and literally outrun them. I remember my at North Village, we used to regularly play their juniors against the older players like Punchy Dio, players like Gumbo, and I was one of the younger players. And the information that I was always getting from don't let the game get into experience, because if the game gets into the experience, they will win. use your energy. So I used to outrun them. You know, just and I couldn't outthink them. And let's accept that we're not going to outthink them because they have that experience. So I would approach the game from a physical standpoint to be able to get that result and just literally tire them out and even kick them because they're not going to want that.
Yeah. Punchy, you heard Maceo give that synopsis of the experienced guys as opposed to the young guys. Would you agree a lot along those lines that you're going to have to work the experienced guys down a little bit to give yourself an opportunity? I see Coach Keita got a big smile on her face.
That's for sure. If you got to have to run. If you're playing against Ralph Gumbo being junior, you better make sure that every time he gets the ball, you got 2 guys on him. You know, again, just agreeing with Maceo about speed. What would if I was Coach St. Davis would be like, okay, we're not gonna allow them no space. I'm playing against North Village Field. The field is small. They will get no space, and so that's probably what happened today. If you allow Gumbo, I mean, this guy's Gumbo Junior's played at the international level. He's just gonna think you play him on Sunday afternoon, just allow him to walk around the field, do anything he wants to do. No, it ain't gonna happen. So that result, I kind of thought that result would happen. Yeah. And now when they go to another level, when they get, whoever they get next, it might be just somebody figure them out and say, listen, they will get no space again. Agreeing with Maceo. So that's my point about that. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched St. Davis this year. I don't know who's coaching them. What's the age group there? But that should be automatic thought. What's the average age of those guys? What, 38, 35?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
pretty much. So that means we're gonna beat them with speed, definitely, and they're doing. Yep.
Well, we just got an update from BAA. Somerset were awarded a penalty, but it was missed, so the score remains 2-0 to Robin Hood. Coach Keita, I did give a result of one of the FA Cup games, and that was Vasco defeating Boulevard 4-3. Ironically, last week those two teams met in the First Division League, and Boulevard won 3-1 to get Vasco back on track to win. To come, a week later, what do you think, or how do you think the coach got to the players to give them that inspiration, to give them that lift, to give them that confidence to come back and play that same team a week later and score 3 more times in order to win the game?
Well, it could be a few things, right? It could be Boulevard going in, having played them, beat them 3-1, going in a bit overconfident, right? We got to remember the game is always played on day. Vasco would have gone away, taken wherever their weaknesses were, and they would have worked on it to come back and stronger. So it's character. I think it's all down to character. And, did Boulevard feel that they would have beat them because they beat them so comfortably last week? I just think that Vasco went away. They worked on the things that they needed to work on, and I guess changed their tactics. We look at Southampton Rangers beating North Village 4-0, and then North Village beating Southampton Rangers 2-0. So similar situation, right? It's a mindset. So did Boulevard go and play Vasco today, saying that we beat them last week, but we have to make sure that we play to beat them again? Or did they say we beat them last week and we can go in and the game's going to be easy? So I think that once Vasco came at them, I don't know how did this score go? Do you know? I don't know how the score went. If Vasco was ever leading.
Vasco, yeah. Well, Boulevard took the lead, and then Vasco came back, scored twice. Boulevard came back, then they mixed goals again, and then Vasco got the winner.
So it sounded like a pretty exciting game. So Boulevard appeared to have started the game sharp, then got stung twice, and then picked it back up again. So the game obviously went in moments. I think that it went in moments, and whoever ended up having making the last mistakes in the end, I guess would have been Vasco. But I truly believe that a mindset. I truly believe that this week's training would have been a much harder training session for Vasco because they realized that they had to win, and that plays a different game, right? It's like it's do or die. So, I think that would have been what would have caused that result.
Yeah, Danica, Hamilton Parish. We're going to the FA now. Hamilton Parish, obviously playing on a smaller field. what did they look like as opposed to playing on a big pitch like Wellington Oval?
They were put to a test. I'm gonna tell you that today. I thought Island Rangers, they came at us, and considering, like I said, that type of field, it seemed kind of hard. Looking, from the side, like kind of hard for them because they couldn't, do too much, spread the ball how they could, when we're at Wellington Oval.
How do you think they can adjust to a smaller space field? Because realistically, if they get promoted, they're going to be playing at fields like Southampton, like Devonshire Rack, the kind of narrower fields.
Well, I guess as they trained on Shelly Bay, they probably need to use the hill field, instead of the little section that they use now, down there or whatever the case may be. But they should be all right. I think they'll be all right considering field adjustment wise. They'll be all right.
Right. For the sake of argument, Island Rangers have not been in the FA Challenge Cup in a number of years, and this was their first time back. I believe, I want to say maybe 5 years. So their first time back in the competition, and again, it's early in the season, which I've already stated on this show that one thing about Island Rangers, early in the season, they're always a feisty bunch. Yeah. But as the season goes on, things kind of fall by the wayside. So it's still early for them. They'll give their effort, and hopefully they can maintain it and give a good account of themselves throughout the season. Now they can only concentrate on the league, where these other teams that have moved on will now have to add another game to their schedule, kind of thing. But you look at Young Man Social Club played Wolves in their league game, the first league game of the season, down at National Sports Center, and they beat them 1-0. Today at Police Field, the same two teams met, and Young Man Social Club this time scored 4 times and restricted Wolves to 2 goals. Now, last week, Hamilton Parish by the scoreline, blew Social Club off the carpet. Do you think teams get up to play, and I'll ask you, Punchy, do you think teams get up to play certain opponents?
Yeah.
And how does the coach adjust that? Because you want to be able to give that account of yourself each week in and week out.
Well, I think consistency is the main thing that I think that a lot of these teams are going to be lack, especially in that division. I've been watching Hamilton Parish today. Island Rangers did give them a little scary time. But consistency is the most important, what I find, what lacks in both divisions, being consistent. And I think that's what a lot of teams fall from. Sometimes they just let the guard down. Consistency is what I am most concerned about. How consistent can you be over a period of, okay, we've got 5 weeks, what are results, how consistent, cut down on mistakes. That's what I see a laxer. Consistency at that level. If you like what Hamilton Parish today, I thought at times they were lacking urgency. I thought they lacked urgency today, really urgency against Island Rangers. Island Rangers, again, like you were saying, it's a team. They have this raw talent. You see some exquisite, and what I am happy about is I see so many young players coming up, and I was like, whoa, that's a little talent. But they're just raw. They're still disorganized. When they get wide, they don't make the right crosses. They don't make a lot of good decisions. But again, let's get back to Hamilton Parish. I think they just have to be, most teams have got to have a consistency level so that, it doesn't drop from 1 week to the next. And that's what I'll be concerned about Hamilton Parish. Do they get comfort? Do they get too complacent? Because today, when I watched them, I thought at times they were very complacent. Slow. The ball movement was so slow. I just thought that's my opinion. I think complacency sets in too early in this country. Too early.
And Coach Keita, as a coach, especially with women's football, that's got to be a big concern, because if a team beats a team 1 week or feels as if that team isn't strong enough and we'll walk over them so we could take a break this week, how does the coach actually try to correct that mindset before the game starts? Because once that sets in, it could actually hurt you in the end.
Yeah. As I talk to my players, we play we have to go out to play strong every time. You don't let your guard down. So if my girls are playing an under 9 boys team or under 17 boys team, we go out to play the same every single time. Yeah, different things obviously you'll work on, but again, it's a mindset. So you cannot, because you may think a team is weak, you cannot go into that game thinking that we've already won it. You know what I mean? Sometimes teams feel that they've won the game before the game's even started, based off of previous results. But I think that every game we have to play at a high level. And as Uncle Ponce said, it's consistency. It's consistency. If you play it hard, or I'll use the games this week. If you play it hard against Dennytown, don't turn around the following week and think that if you're playing a team like Boulevard that you can back off. You play hard again, and I don't think that happens in Bermuda. I think that because it's been small and kind of gauge where teams are at, each week we go in and you have a different mindset. The players have a different mindset. I would hope the coaches don't. Coaches need to make sure that they prepare their players to play football. Teams should have a style that they play. Teams should have, obviously scouting is a part of the game, but I think that teams often play to their opponents as opposed to playing the way that they should play.
Let me just add to that, Harold, if I may. Yeah, so it comes into psychology now, and this is the piece that we need to start to go into. How do you trigger players? So, example from my coaching experience, what I would do, I will create the pressure. So rather than we're playing the opposition, I'm dealing with my players to create that pressure, to create that situation that keeps them intense. Because I think it's human nature. It is human nature to say, okay, I beat somebody 6-0 1 week, and I should be able to beat them next week. So I've used various tactics. So I could go back to, my times at North Village and D'Amico Janice's and Kofi Deals and Ralph Gumbo Bean. I actually used to insult them. I used to verbally insult the players prior to the game to make them angry. And what they used to want to do to me is shut me up. And they understood the way to shut me up is to play football at a high level. So it's different players I used to do different things with them and give them targets in each game. So once you start giving them targets in each game, they're gonna achieve those targets. So there's a lot of psychological stuff that has to go in from a coaching standpoint to keep players motivated to perform, to get to high performance.
Danica, we know the challenges that Hamilton Parish have had over the years, self-destructing and the like, under the new leadership of Sergio Goda, but he has the same players. How does he make sure they don't fall into that disbelief of themselves? Because I think that's what it comes down to, because Maceo was just talking about it, the psychology of it. And a lot of these players don't have that self-belief in themselves. So what happens is they start to tear apart a team. So what do you think Sergio is going to have to do to ensure that the players don't fall into that kind of disbelief?
Well, he just, like I said, keep talking to him. I'm seeing a change in, even though a lot of the players are the same players and the new players that have come, that, like I said before, that they're not as argumentative, getting at each other, making, taking constructive criticism. They'll be arguing over that at times, but I'm whatever he's saying to him, and doing with him, tell him continue, because like I said, I see a change in him.
Now you see a change because they're winning. And I know I'll get a lot of support from this. What happens with that loss, Punchy?
Good question. Yeah. For me, I don't see Hamilton Parish probably having that much a problem in that division they're in now. Revert back to my conversation with the St. George's, with Freddie Hall and David Signal about the structure. What happens when your team on a 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, they got to go play out Devon Chirac? Are they mentally and technically and physically ready? What happens? And I think it's helped them in terms of they only lost 1-0 to North Village. They lost
1-0 to Somerset.
Somerset. Yeah, so they've never been out of the game. It's that constant belief, and I think Freddie Hall adds a lot to this in terms of that direction that St. George is going in. About, do you slump over? I see a lot of players soon sit down and watch. They can't figure out how the game going. You start seeing the body language of the player, and you start to wonder, why do a lot of Bermuda players do that? I watched Rangers players today, when they couldn't figure out the game. Now, St. George was definitely making sure that they were playing them. Make sure you're not coming down the middle. You got to go wide. So now you got to come up with a concept. But I watched the body language of players, and I was like, whoa. So you got to keep trying. You just got to keep working harder. Make some adjustments and work harder. I think what happens a lot here is that when they are confronted with those type of games, how mentally are they ready to adapt and change? And that's what I find a lot in this country now. I find a lot of it. You know, the mental approach to when things are not going right, what do you do other than that? What's the next mental strength that you have?
Right. I honestly believe, and anybody could jump in after this, I honestly believe it's a social issue because a lot of people don't have confidence in themselves and that self-belief. Now, you might have 4 guys in the team that believe they could do whatever they want, but if 7 other guys are struggling with that internally, it actually pulls it all apart if things don't go right. Would you agree?
Well, let's take it from this. I do agree. Let's take it from let's first understand where football originates from. Football is a street people sport from the ghetto and all across the world. Let's understand Suarez bit somebody at the World Cup. Zinedine Zidane fought somebody at the World Cup finals. So that's a level of toughness that they develop from being in their inner city. So that's what the ghetto player and the challenging player brings. Now, Bermuda as a culture is not so open to that. It's not so open to that player that brings that type of behavior, that type of strength, because he comes from that type of environment. We have allowed and put that type of player on the side, but he brings something that we love. Suarez in the world, Wayne Rooney, those type of players give confidence to the other structured players. And we have to now start to understand that. We have to understand that, and how do we groom that player? And this is why it goes back now to Dandytown. They have those players there. They have those players that can solve situations, that have an arrogance. And that's something I grew up with at Northwest. I had an arrogance, and I have an arrogance about myself that I'm going to do something, that I'm capable of doing something. And we're not so open to that arrogance anymore. But we could talk it up, but we could switch the game and say Michael Jordan, and we're seeing The Last Dance. We're seeing Dennis Rodman. We're seeing Michael Jordan. They have a certain arrogance about themselves, a certain level of cockiness too. And we have to embrace that. We have to start to embrace that, because it means the difference in the game. It really means the difference. And what we're raised now is don't push, don't shout. We're raised that type of player.
Yeah.
And we have to switch that around. Like,
so we're actually confining the player's natural gift of being that open person to confine them into a box to fit the system.
Thank God for social media that wasn't around some of the things I've done in football or say it in football. Like I apologize to everybody now as it's matured. I've matured to the level that I am now, but trust me, some things that I've done in football and say it here, but we have to embrace that and we have to channel that into something positive.
Well, again, I was hoping that Kwame would have joined us to discuss his team's performances, but we're going to go to our picks for the week and get into next week's games, because there is a full slate of matches for next week. So in the picks from last week, the Dandytown Hornets and Crossroads, we all picked Dandytown. So that was an extra point there. North Village Rams and Devonshire Colts. We all took North Village Rams. and North Village Rams won that. So everybody got a point. We all took Devonshire Cougars to defeat Somerset Eagles. And then came the changes. I picked St. George's Colts to beat Southampton Rangers. Punchy, you picked Rangers. Maceo, you picked St. George's with Danica. And Kita, you picked Rangers. So myself, Maceo, and Danica picked up a point. And then, well, the game going on now, and it should be somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes remaining in that match. Robin Hood will continue to lead. Hopefully we'll get that result before we go off, and then we could add it to the score. But as it stands right now, Kita is leading with 9. Myself, Maceo, and Danica have 8, and Punchy has 7. Now, if the score remains the same, Punchy will move to 8, I will move to 9. Maceo, you took the Trojans. You will stay on 8. Danica and Kita both took a draw for that. So they will stay on 8 and 9 if the score remains the same. So very interesting times. We've had our chats about those particular games, but looking forward, very interesting matchup. It's 2 Premier Division matches next Saturday, and it is the Somerset Trojans are hosting Dendy Town up at Somerset Cricket Club at 3 p.m. We'll go with you, Punchy. How do you think that one will end up?
I'm going for Dendy Town win.
Plain and simple. Coach Kita?
Dandy Town convincingly.
Okay. Danica?
I'm gonna give Danny Town to you.
Okay. Maceo?
Danny Town would outplay Somerset actually. Danny Town.
Okay, so 5 for 5, we're all taking Dandy Town. And then at 9 o'clock at night, Robin Hood will host Southampton Rangers. Start with you, Maceo.
Robin Hood will beat Southampton Rangers. For me, Southampton Rangers are down tools. They're down tools, and Robin Hood will beat Southampton Rangers next week.
Okay. Danica?
I'm saying Robin Hood too.
Okay. And Coach Kita?
Yeah, Robin Hood.
Brother Punchy?
I'm going with Robin Hood also.
Okay, 5 for 5. Robin Hood will be victorious against Southampton Rangers on Saturday night out at the BAA field. We're going to stay in the Premier Division because St. George's Colts are at home to Devonshire Cougars. This should be very, very interesting. We'll start with you, Danica. St. George's Colts or Devonshire Cougars at Wellington Oval?
I'm taking St. George's.
Okay, all right. Maceo?
Devonshire Cougars will bully St. George's next week on that field. Devonshire Cougars.
Okay. I see Punchy's got a grin on his face, so I'm going to come to you, Punchy.
I'm going for draw. I'm going for draw.
Okay, all right.
Oh, yeah.
Coach Kita?
Devonshire Cougars.
Okay. Well, I'm leaning on the side of Punchy. I think with the way St. George's plays and the way Devonshire Cougars do play, I think it's going to be an evenly matched out game, and I'm going to go for 1-1 draw. You on my side, Punchy?
I am.
You guys got that
I am.
sore spot. You got the sore spot for St. George's. When I see that little sore spot you got for St. George's.
What's that?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So you
I just
got a-
figured
you
that,
got- you got a sore spot for St. George's.
I am
Well,
sore for them. Yeah, they are. But I just figured that if they continue to do what the work that they're putting in, I think they come up with a new concept.
Yeah.
Defend with like your lives, counterattack. Everybody works as units and put away your chances. I still think they're missing a good enough center point, but I still think St. George's have kind of figured out some things to do, what they're doing right. And
If you
can
don't give up goals, you can't lose.
that's right. Exactly.
Yeah. So if that's the method, then yes.
Yeah.
And then the next game in the Premier Division, North Village are at home to Crossroads. I will start with you, Coach Kita. Does she hear me? Okay, Coach Kita.
Sorry, I missed that. I lost service.
Okay, North Village Rams are home to Crossroads.
North Village,
Okay,
hands down.
hands down. Okay, Danica.
No Village.
Okay, Maceo.
Yeah, that's gonna present an interesting match because Crossroads is not a bad team and they're attempting to play football and they're physical. So I think they're gonna trouble North Village from a physical standpoint. But North Village, as a unit and the tweaks that Kenny has made over the last few weeks, it's gonna sort of balance it out. And I'm picking a draw. That game will end in a draw.
Okay, Punchy.
Of course, I think agree with Macy. I think with the smallness of the field, the quickness of I like I said, I saw Crossroads the other night against Dennytown. I thought, yeah, the second half they were really on top of Dennytown. They just didn't put away their chances. And now it's a smaller pitch. I think they're going to cause North Village some problems. Yeah, I think they will. But I still think that we can probably get past, and I say we. We're probably looking at probably about a 2-1 score for North Village.
Okay, and I'm going to go with North Village as well.
What's the track record there? I don't think we've beat them yet.
Good point.
We haven't beat them in the Premier League. We're going to beat them. We haven't.
Right.
We have not beat them.
I just think with the link up between Coke and Donovan Thompson hasn't been fruitful as of yet. And while they still work that out, I think Crossroads will struggle in finding the back of the net. And until they can prove that, I'm going to have to give the nod to North Village to come out on top of this one. And who knows, this might inspire them to break out of that and go forward. But right now, you're talking 270 minutes and you haven't scored a goal. And that's got to be worrying for any team because you're leaking goals, but you're not scoring goals. Where if you look at, like you talk about St. George's, they're giving up a goal a game, or the first two games they give up a goal a game. They weren't getting blown out. And now here they are scoring a goal and not allowing a goal. So it's a little different. Obviously, there's some concern with Somerset Eagles because they're scoring first in their games and then giving up a handful of goals. So we'll get to them as well. But it's got to be a worrying time for Crossroads because they need to be able to score goals to keep themselves in the game. It's no good playing well if you're not actually matching the team that you're playing against, especially in scoring. So I'm going to go with North Village. Then the final game, Somerset Eagles are at home to PHC Zebras. I'll start with you, Maceo, because this one should be very interesting.
Yeah, definitely that's an interesting matchup. But I'm going with PHC. I've watched them get better and better each game. So PHC for me will squeak through this game.
Okay. Danica?
I'm going to get PHC.
Okay. Punchy?
I'm going with PHC.
Okay.
I'm definitely with PHC.
Okay. Coach Keita?
PHC.
What did you see of PHC last week that would encourage you to go with them this week against Somerset Eagles?
The change in tactics and personnel. I think that PHC would have to go with the personnel that they ended with, as opposed to a few of the players that started for them. Because if they go with the team that they ended with, they're going to run at Somerset Eagles from the jump. They're going to apply a high press and pressure from the offset.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take PHC as well in that particular game, only because, as Maceo has said, you've seen the improvements over the weeks, and they'll only get better. The younger guys are willing to work hard. They love the club, and I don't think they're as talented as the youngsters at Dandytown, but that will come in time. But I think as they get together and play more, they will basically become a stronger unit, and I give them the nod over Somerset Eagles. So now we go to the first division, and we look at Wolves are facing Island Rangers at Garrison Field. I'll start with you, Danica.
I'm going to take Island Rangers.
Oh, boy. Okay. Big one. Punchy?
I'm going to take Island Rangers also. Wolves have become, I don't know what's going on with Wolves, whatever's happening on that club, but I'm going with Island Rangers. I'm going with Danica, yeah.
Okay. Coach Keita?
Oh, that is a pretty tough one. I am going to go with a draw.
A draw. Maceo?
Yeah, I've watched both Wolves training sessions and I've watched Island Rangers training session. Island Rangers is being coached by Marcio Hunt, and he does have them organized. I mean, Parrish was just a bit too much for him today, so I'm taking Island Rangers.
Well, I guess I'm going to go out on the limb and take Wolves. After seeing them play their first game, they, I think, just lack that confidence in themselves. And I think a game against Island Rangers is what they need to give themselves that boost, because Island Rangers are going to come in with that physical part, and I think that's going to wake them up to get themselves going. So I'm going to go with Wolves against everybody else's wishes. And we just got an update. Robin Hood have defeated Somerset Trojans 2-0. So we'll go back to the results before we go to the next First Division game. So myself and Punchy move up because we took Robin Hood. Maceo took Somerset, and Danica and Nikita took a draw. So right now the results are Keita and I are on 9, and Punchy, Maceo, and Danica all have 8. And I do need to apologize to Danica because I did mess up last week, and I said she had picked a team when it was a draw, and she was 1 correct. So I had to add that to her score. So I did make the correction, Danica, and you are now on 8. So back to the First Division. Next game, it's going to be Vasco at home at Bernard Park against Social Club. I'll start with you, Maceo.
Oh, that's a tough one. But I'm aware of the Vasco coach. While he got his pants pulled on against Hamilton Parish, you see the organization piece that he's come back against Boulevard. So I think they will be organized enough to take Social Club. So I'm picking Vasco.
Okay. Danica?
That's a tough one. I'm gonna take a draw.
Okay. Coach Keita?
I'm gonna go with Vasco because of how they bounce back, and I think that they're gonna take this week's match into that match next week. I don't think that they're gonna rest, and I think that they're gonna go for it. So I'm gonna definitely go with Vasco.
Okay. Coach Punchy?
Vasco, definitely. Okay. I'm going with Vasco.
Okay. I think I will follow in their performance. Now, the one thing I'm a bit curious about Vasco is in the FA Cup, you can have other players come in if they're registered with your club and play if they're playing in the Corona League. I believe they could be a part of that, but they go back to the Corona League when they. So I'm not sure if they have included any of those players, but a feel-good moment beating a team that beat you the week before 3-1 would have to give them the sense of confidence going into next week's game. And of course, the coaching staff will be working hard to ensure that they stay up in order to play this next game. So I'm going to take Vasco as well. Then we move down to the final game in the First Division. St. David's will play host to Boulevard. I'll start with you, Punchy.
Host to Boulevard. I haven't seen St. David's play. I will go with Boulevard for that one.
Okay. Coach Keita?
Yep, I'm going with Boulevard as well.
Okay. Danica?
I'm getting Boulevard also.
Okay. Maceo?
Boulevard as well. Boulevard, I know the mentality of it. The mentality of Boulevard after losing this week, they're not going to win. And the Boulevard have some quality players in there. They just lack organization. But they're going to get up, and their mentality is that they're not going to what they need to be a cricket club to beat them.
Yeah. Looking at it, I mean, St. David's would have been, with all the new signings they had, they would have been a bit disappointed drawing with with Island Rangers, their first match. And then to lose 5-2 in this FA match, I think right now, Lugo is going to have a tall order to try and get their confidence back up to face off against a team like Boulevard, who in the league are undefeated. So I'm going to go with Boulevard as well. Now let's go back to that Robin Hood defeating Somerset game. Robin Hood was able to get an early goal and then a goal midway in the first half to kind of seal it. Unfortunately, Somerset missed that penalty. But without us even seeing the game, how much confidence would Somerset have gone into this game with, Maceo, on back-to-back victories, although both of them edging out the two promoted teams?
Well, I did watch the first 35 minutes of the game before, so I got a chance to look at Somerset, and Somerset is attempting to play expensive football, so they're opening themselves up. I was figuring that Somerset would sort of park the bus and counterattack Robin Hood, so Robin Hood just totally overpowered them, and I know midway in the second half that Somerset missed a penalty that would have made it 2-1. But I think now, reflecting back, when you look at Somerset, they needed that victory to give their self-confidence going forward. It's going to be a lot more challenging for them, to pick up points moving forward.
Yeah. Danica, listening to that, and you saw Somerset play last week, how do you think what do you think they need to do in the coming weeks to make sure, well, obviously they have Dandytown next week, so how does the coach, they're playing their first game at home, more pressure, but you're playing a team that's riding high, so what do you think the coaching staff needs to do to get them back up on that pedestal?
Well, you probably just enforce more stuff into training. Have them do more, I guess, technical work. And because Dandytown, I mean, they got some pretty fast players, both sides of the field. I mean, Somerset also. But they just got to, I guess, hang in there and try to, do what they got to do.
Right. I'm taking a quick look at the standings. So Robin Hood on 9, North Village on 9, Dandytown and Somerset both have 6. Devonshire Cougars have 6. St. George's Colts has 3 with Southampton Rangers. Devonshire Colts and PHC have 1 each, with Somerset Eagles and Crossroads not yet off the mark. The growing concern for any team would be the fact that Crossroads have not scored a goal yet, and they've conceded 6. Somerset Eagles have now scored 2, but they've given up 9. Looking at Devonshire Colts, they've scored 4, but given up 6. Obviously, Southampton Rangers losing 1-0. They've scored 2 and given up 3. Devonshire Cougars have opened up their goal account they've gotten now 8 goals and given up 3. Dandytown have yet to give up a goal, along with Dandytown are yet to give up a goal because they won 1-0 last night. Somerset Trojans have now given up 3 goals and conceded and scored 4. I'm sorry, no, they're 3-3. Sorry, 3-3. North Village moved up to scoring 5 goals and conceding their first goal today. And of course, Robin Hood now 2-0. They've scored 12 goals and conceded 2 goals for their 9 points. So it's starting to match up a little bit. It's starting to space itself out. Next week will be another tale of 2 tapes, and we'll see just how things will materialize next week at 6 p.m. with the Island Stats football show right here. And we look forward to having you all join us and hopefully get a coach to join us as well to give him the opportunity to talk about his team's performance and what they need to do. So from myself to you all, thank you all for joining. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Okay.
Good night.
Night. Bye.